And good afternoon. It is time for our regular lunch and learn. And today we're going to be talking about seasonal affective disorder. SAD, S-A-D, seasonal affective disorder. What is that? That is a mood condition that some people get when the days become shorter and we're deprived of sunshine. So this is a real thing. It was discovered in the 1980s. Okay, people call it the winter blues. I know that I'm pretty disappointed. We're not there yet. However, I'm pretty disappointed when it's time to leave my office and go home and I walk outside and it's dark. And it's like, I don't want to go home in the dark, right? I'm used to going home when it's nice and pretty and sunshiny and we'll do dinner and then it'll still be sunshiny, and now it's getting darker earlier. It's also staying darker later. In the morning, I would like to go out and, have my cup of coffee outside, but it's dark. I can't do that anymore. And so sometimes when the daylight gets more diminished, then some people wind up with seasonal affective disorder. So that may be you. It's not me. It's never been something that's been a bother to me. Even though I don't like being in the dark, it doesn't make me moody. So we're going to be talking about some things that you can do for this if this is you. Most of the time this happens in women. Men can be affected by it, but most of the time it is women that are affected by it. And so it is seasonal, and we don't want to give into this. We need to be aware of this so we can make adjustments to our lifestyle. Now, I don't know if you have ever been on psychiatric medications for depression. Seasonal affective disorder is a depressive disorder. I have found out in dealing with healthcare professionals that they don't ever want to take anybody off antidepressants in the winter because of the lack of sunshine, and they're afraid that if you get off of your medicine during the shorter daylight hours that you're going to have more issues. So this is a real thing that even medical professionals that they will see with that. So when you have this condition, you can feel hopeless, you can feel worthless, you can have low energy, you can have low motivation, you can feel depressed most of the time, you can experience weight gain, you can withdraw from social activities, and you can have trouble sleeping. Now, this usually resolves itself in the springtime. So it's not something that is forever and a day, but there's some things that you can do. If this is you, if this were me, I certainly would not want to have, 4 or 5 months of being depressed and being in a bad mood because I didn't have any sunshine. So this is a real thing. A lot of doctors think this is due to a lack of serotonin production. All right, so serotonin is a neurotransmitter in the brain, and it has long been understood to work as a mood stabilizer. Now, you have a lot of neurotransmitters in the brain. You've got GABA, you've got serotonin, you've got dopamine, you've got epinephrine, you've got norepinephrine, and you have melatonin. I think there's five of the major ones. GABA is at the top of the food chain. Melatonin is at the bottom of the food chain. So a lot of times when people are sleepless, which is one of the symptoms of having this seasonal affective disorder, they will supplement with melatonin. When you're doing that, you're supplementing from the bottom of the food chain. I rather supplement from the top of the food chain and feed everything going down. However, people will disagree with me, and that's fine. There's melatonin everywhere, and it's really easy to get. However, there are a lot of studies coming out, especially with children. When you give children melatonin, it changes their brain chemistry, and not for the better. So I would rather do it a little bit differently. All right, serotonin is what they're finding is on the decrease during this time. In a major research paper in 2013, the European Review for Medical and Pharmacological Sciences, called The Role of Serotonin in Seasonal Affective Disorder, concluded that people with low levels of serotonin had more propensity to this seasonal affective disorder than the rest of a healthy population. They say a decrease in the level of serotonin directly intensifies this disorder. So if GABA's at the top, melatonin's at the bottom, serotonin's in the middle. So if you supplement from the top going down, then you're going to be feeding that serotonin while you're doing the work that you're doing, okay? So it just makes sense to me. As a holistic person, we look at the whole body. We don't look at sickness and disease. We look at what is not working quite right in the health department. We get you healthy, and guess what? Symptoms go away, disorders go away, all that kind of thing. So when we're doing our research, which is primarily what I do, all right, we find that there's some things that we can do for people that have this disorder. They have found that people with seasonal affective disorder also have low levels of vitamin D. What does that mean? Well, you're not outside in the sunshine, and some people are very, very sensitive to the sun. They're not able to go out. They wear makeup. I wear makeup. I wear sunscreen under my makeup. When we were on our trip a couple of weeks ago, I was out in the full-blown daylight sun. I got a little bit of color on my chest, okay, even though we did use, we just used some sunscreen, but on my face, because I use a moisturizer with sunscreen in it. I also use a tinted foundation with sunscreen in it. I had no damaging rays to the skin. So that's what, we do that. However, if you're out in the sun a lot and you're doing a lot of sunscreen, you're not going to be absorbing the ultraviolet rays, which convert to vitamin D in the system. And so when we're seeing that, we're seeing people that have seasonal affective disorder do not have a lot of vitamin D in their system. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Seasonal affective disorder sufferers also produce too much of the sleep regulating hormone melatonin. Well, surprise, surprise. When you're depressed, what do you want to do? You want to sleep, right? That's one of the key indicators of somebody who is depressed, is that they want to sleep. So people with this disorder produce too much melatonin, and so they are asleep. According to the Cleveland Clinic, melatonin is a naturally produced chemical produced by the brain's pineal gland in response to light and darkness, increasing the production of low light and decreasing during times of bright daylight. So right about here in your brain, you've got your pineal gland. They call it that because it's about the shape of a pine cone, much, much smaller. It is connected via your optic nerve into the brain. So when you go outside in the early morning, we don't want you outside in the heat of the day, okay? That's just not smart. But when you go outside in the early morning, like say 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I know that might not be early, but before the heat of the day, when you're outside without your sunshades on, that sunshine is coming in, going up to the pineal gland in your brain, and your pineal gland produces melatonin. Now, when your body is healthy, you're going to produce the right amount of melatonin. However, when we have the products that we have, we've got fluoride in our toothpaste, we've got fluoride in our water, we've got fluoride in our fruits and vegetables. We just have that, right? So fluoride calcifies your pineal gland. What does that mean? Well, it means it makes it hard so it can't function. Now, you may or you may not know that your pineal gland, some people call it the third eye, some people call it your spiritual gland, where you connect to heaven, all right, where you connect. So we want the pineal gland to be very malleable. We want it to be open. We want it to be calcified. We don't want it to be hard. If you dream a lot and you dream in vivid color, you're great. If you don't remember your dreams, or if you think you never dream, then you might have a calcified pineal gland. If you have a calcified pineal gland, not dreaming or not remembering your dreams is one of the symptoms of that. But also you won't be producing enough melatonin. So we've got things here in the clinic to help you with that. That's really, really important, because your pineal gland, your highest spiritual gland, and this is a real thing, it governs all of your other glands. So what are your other glands? Anything that makes a hormone, right? So you've got your pineal, you've got your pituitary, you've got your hypothalamus, you've got your thyroid, your parathyroid, your thymus, You go on down the body, you've got your pancreas, you've got your adrenals, you've got your ovaries if you're female, you've got your testicles if you are a male. So your pineal gland governs all of the production of hormones in all the rest of your endocrine system. So this is really, really important for people that suffer with seasonal affective disorder. They may have hormones that are just all over the place, which may be why they get depressed. All right. So there is a significant association with vitamin D and sunlight, as I said earlier. Okay. And so we know that supplementation with vitamin D is all over the place. What you want to know about vitamin D is vitamin D, if you take it in a capsule, if you take it in a gel cap, it goes through the digestive system, goes into the tummy, gets chewed up by your hydrochloric acid. Yes, you have hydrochloric acid in your stomach. Why is that? Because it has to break down your food. So it destroys a lot of your vitamin D there. Whatever is left goes into the liver, the first pass of the liver via the bloodstream. In the liver, all right, it gets chewed up again because of decontamination and all that kind of stuff. Whatever little bit might be left goes through the bloodstream into the kidneys where the body absorbs it. Okay, that's how it works. So if you're doing a gel cap or you're doing a capsule or you're doing a tablet, you're not getting very much of that active ingredient into the kidneys, right? Look at your supplement. Does it have vitamin K2 in it as well? Why? Because you need vitamin K2 as a cofactor for you to be able to absorb the vitamin D. So it's complicated. However, you know, you don't have to be complicated. All you have to do is listen and pay attention. There are liquid vitamin Ds with K in it. We have a spray. We've got the liquid too. I prefer the spray. You spray it right into your cheek. And we've seen in the clinic blood work change, double the vitamin D level in 60 days. So this is really exciting. It goes right into the mucous membrane, right into the bloodstream in a form that your body can use it. It's already in a liposome, and that means it's already biotagged to go where you need it. It doesn't go through digestion. It doesn't go through the liver. It goes right up where it needs to be, and then you're getting 100% of what you're ingesting so that you're not having any waste. You know, if you go to your medical doctor, a lot of them will say, well, don't take supplements because all you're going to do is have really expensive urine. Well, they do have a point. If you are not absorbing your nutrition, if you are not absorbing your supplements, then yes, you're just going to pee everything away. However, when you have liposomes, when you have bioavailable vitamins, minerals, supplements, and all that kind of stuff, then you're not going to be having that expensive urine. What you're going to be doing is nourishing your body so that your body does what it needs to do. So vitamin D, a lot of people will call it a hormone. All right. They call it vitamin D, but there are many doctors that think it works as a hormone. The article goes on to say vitamin D plays a role in promoting serotonin production. So it's plausible that a falling level of vitamin D, which is particularly common on those suffering from seasonal affective disorder, could further aggravate the effects of low serotonin. So we can't always go out when it's freezing cold and it's snowing and it's raining, depending on where you are, but you can supplement with a very good vitamin D. You can also get a light box. Now, there used to be light boxes all over. I haven't seen any of those in a long time, but these light boxes put out ultraviolet rays. Your skin can absorb that, and that can help. And it's even it's brighter than sunlight at this time of year, so you're going to get more benefit from that. There are doctors that think that people that suffer with seasonal affective disorder could have a gene, right, that has a propensity for you to have that. So it's called a, what is it called? I think it's called a complement gene, but that might not be right. Let me get over here. It's common for people with SAD, seasonal affective disorder, to have relatives who experience the same. Various studies have looked at what are known as candidate genes. Sorry, not complement, candidate genes. So if this is in your family, if it runs in your family, then you have a candidate gene. I've never seen this before, which means the genes that control various brain processes suspected as being involved in mood regulation. Some of these studies have shown abnormalities in patients that have seasonal affective disorder compared to healthy controls. So if this is something that is you or somebody that you know that's very debilitating, it might be worthwhile taking them to the neurologist, seeing if they have this candidate gene abnormality, so that they can maybe do something. That doesn't say what you can do. It just says that they can work with that. Women, as we talked about earlier, have more propensity to seasonal affective disorder, but I'm just going to say this out loud. Women are more emotional anyway. That's just who we are. Not that we wear it as a badge, not that we beat you up with it, anything like that. I believe with maturity, you learn to control your emotions. Your emotions do not control you. However, women are more effective. So some doctors think that this has an effect of your hormones, your sex hormones, your estrogen and your progesterone. So women ages 20 to 40 experience seasonal affective disorder at a 20%, I think it's 20% higher rate than men of the same age. It says, actually, that's not right, not 20%, 4 times as much. So that could be 80%, leading to the speculation that there may be significant link for dominant female hormones, estrogen and progesterone, for seasonal depression. Now, again, your hormones need to be in balance, and everybody's different, and everybody's hormone load needs to be whatever they need for their own body. Younger people who are not as mature do not control their emotions. They've got mood swings. We all know the girls, when they're just coming into their cycles, they're just all over the place. As a grown female, you should have enough self-control that you're able to manage that. However, there are things in life. There's childbirth, there's miscarriage, there's all kinds of things that can lead to great ebbs and flows of hormones, and so you may need some medical help. There is hormonal help that is plant-based. However, if you're just on this roller coaster where you cannot work with your life, you can't manage your life, then you may need to see a physician to see what's going on with that, okay? We know that when women come into menopause, they also have that roller coaster of emotions. A medical doctor, OBGYN, told me that 95% of cardiac events happen in women who are postmenopausal. Why is that? Because estrogen is very heart protective, whereas the lack of estrogen is very detrimental to the heart. So we definitely don't want to ignore these hormones. We want to make sure that wherever you are on the spectrum, puberty all the way up to postmenopausal, that you've got the right blend of hormones. When you don't have estrogen, your skin's not pretty. All right. When you don't have estrogen, your hair's not going to be nice and shiny. Your nails are not going to be good. So you need to take care of yourself, whatever that means for you. The article goes on to say that we observe when girls enter puberty, they begin to show a greater tendency to develop mood changes with the seasons. And this has not been found with boys at the same age. So we know that that's a thing, right? So human beings have likely always experienced seasonal shifts in mood and behavior to some degree. According to the Cleveland Clinic, between 10 and 20% of the U.S. adult population can experience winter blues, leaving them feeling down in the dumps. Now, this equates to, I think, 10 million American adults. That's a lot. All right. That is a lot of people that have this. And so there are things that you can do to alleviate that. One that we've already talked about is to increase your exposure to bright light. Now, in my office, I've got a lot of fluorescent light. That's not what we're talking about. We don't want you to be in fluorescent light. So that's not the kind of light we want. So we normally think of seasonal affective disorder being due mainly to the decrease in daylight hours but any major shift in light deprivation can cause the depressing impact. Moving from a sun-drenched state such as Florida to Vermont, for example, from a light-filled home to a darker one, or even from an office with large windows to a basement room, can all have this effect. Making your living environment lighter and brighter is a start. Move your desk or chair next to a window, painting with a bright color, and using more lamps or other indoor lighting can help. Some spend more time out of doors on bright days, even in the winter. Now, I'm the kind of person, I do not like it dark. My husband and I go back and forth on this because he just turns off all the lights and I go back behind him and I turn back on all the lights, right? Not all of them. I don't like to walk into a dark room. He leaves before I do. He gets up like at 5 o'clock and leaves. I don't get up until a little bit later than that. But I ask him, when you go down the hall, flick on the light so when I get up, I'm not walking into the dark. I don't like to be in the dark. Just don't like it. Now, when I'm asleep, I like to be in the dark. But when you see me, I'm always going to have a light. I have a light right by my chair. I mean, it's right there. Why is that? Because husband likes it dark. I like to read. And so I need a light. So you want to make sure that if this affects you, you want to have as much bright light and bright paint as much as you can. We talked about the light box. You want to sit in front of a light box between 20 and 90 minutes first thing in the morning. The light emitted is designed to mimic outdoor light and is about 20 times more intense than ordinary indoor lights while filtering out most of the UV rays. All right. So you want to be able to do this, and you can find these. Amazon has everything, so I imagine that you can find this. What else can you do is you can develop healthy lifestyle habits. A lot of times in the winter, people don't go out. People don't socialize. People don't do the things that they're used to doing, the things that give them pleasure. So if you're feeling deprived in any area of your life, it's going to affect you. And if you have low serotonin, if you make too much melatonin, then you may find that you're just having these depressive days and depressive moods. And, no one wants to be around a sourpuss. I'm just saying, in my family, when I was raising my kids, we just didn't allow that. If you're going to be a sourpuss, you can go play in your room and we won't bother you. But if you're going to be with the family, then you need to have a jovial countenance and you need to be cooperative, and we all need to have fun and make good memories and that kind of thing. And so, it's just not something that we want to, we don't want to let this go. We want to do what we need to do to encourage happiness and joy and that kind of thing. And so when you're curtailing your activities because inclement weather, then you're also maybe depressing your body as well, depressing your emotions as well. And so you're going to have more of a propensity to get into that depressed state. Exercise. How many of you exercise? We need to be doing that. Why do we need to be doing that? Because there is a truth to use it or lose it, right? We don't want to lose our flexibility. We don't want to lose the way that we move. However, when we exercise, the body, the brain puts off the endorphins, which are your feel-good chemicals. So if you are having a tendency to be depressed, to be more morose, to be more gloomy, if you will exercise, even if you don't feel like you want to, the brain will kick in and you will make those feel-good chemicals, and it will do a lot to help you with your mood. According to Harvard Health, exercise works just as well as taking an antidepressant for some people, making it potentially powerful help. Also, because people suffering from depression often crave sweet, starchy carbs, right? Opting for a healthy, well-balanced, complex carbs can help stabilize blood sugar and energy levels. Now, what does this mean? Well, you don't want to do the comfort food, your macaroni, your any other kind of pasta, any bread, your sweet buns, your cakes, your cinnamon rolls, all that kind of stuff, which I absolutely adore. I love all that kind of stuff. However, I don't eat it because it's not healthy for me, okay? And it makes me gain weight, so I choose not to eat it. However, people that are depressed, people that are stressed, they go for the comfort food. And I've been guilty of that myself. I mean, there have been some days when it's like, I'm going to make my mama's mac and cheese because it makes me feel good, right? Don't do it every day. Don't do it all the time. But a lot of the time, people that are suffering from depression, people are suffering from mood swings, they will always gravitate toward your simple carbohydrates. Those are the things that break down into sugar in the body. They cause an inflammatory response. It's very, very addictive. So you want your complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are like broccoli and squash and peppers and potatoes and all that kind of stuff. I know they are not comfort food. I understand that, but that's what you want because you want to be healthy and you want to have that energy. When you eat a meal full of high simple carbohydrates, we got your chicken fried steak with the breading on it. You've got your gravy made of flour. You got your mashed potatoes or your macaroni or your corn or whatever you have. You eat that, you feel yummy, you feel good, but then when you go home, boom, you want to go have a nap. Why is that? Because it's a heavy meal, it's not a healthy meal, and it depresses your system. When you eat something like broccoli and peppers and Brussels sprouts and asparagus and fish and apples and oranges, those kind of things give you energy, you feel very revived and that kind of thing, and that heightens your moods as well. We talked about spending time with others, even if it's not convenient. You want to do that because when you're with people, you're making memories, you're laughing, you're enjoying yourself. And remember, the Bible says that laughter does good like a medicine, and it really, really does. So social connections are very, very important for your immune system, very, very important for your mood, and it is the single most protective factor against depression. You will find that depressed people spend a lot of time alone. Okay, so we don't want to do that. We want to encourage a lot of social interaction. You can do talk therapy, get everything out in the open. That's not my favorite thing. I'm just a very private person. But what I do is I talk in my journal. I write everything down. I get it out of my system. I'm not dealing with it anymore. I write it down and then it goes into Never Never Land, wherever it goes. And I don't have to deal with that anymore. But you get those things that are troubling you, those things that are bothering you, you get those out. If you like talk therapy, if you need that, I'm all for that. If you don't particularly like doing all that, you can journal it and you can get exactly the same. Cognitive behavior therapy, which is talk therapy, was researched by the University of Vermont and has been shown to help people with seasonal affective disorder work on their automatic negative thoughts and self-defeating behaviors, and it can have a powerful positive effect. So, mindfulness, all right? No matter who you are, you listen to yourself all the time. What is your brain telling you? So if your brain is telling you it's dark outside, it's going to rain, I'm going to be miserable, I'm afraid of the storm, I'm not going to be able to go out because I'm going to melt when it rains, whatever those negative things are that you're telling yourself, that is how your body is going to respond. And so cognitive therapy or even journaling, you get those thoughts out, you bring them into the open, and then you can make a choice to change the way you're thinking, okay? Mindfulness is very, very important. If you know it's coming up, I think it's in a month, it's going to be dark here about 4:30 in the afternoon. I've been used to it being dark at 8:30 in the evening. That's a huge shift, right? I already know I don't like to walk out into the dark. So what do? We have lights outside, so I'm not in the dark. So you are mindful of the things that you need in order to be able to compensate for the lack of daylight. So if this is you want to work on your hormones, you want to work on your vitamin D, you want to work on your neurotransmitters. So whatever that means to you, if you need to buy a light box, if you need to eat healthier, if you need to exercise more, if you just need to have more social things on your calendar to make you feel better, then that's what you need to do. We can all make a difference in our life. We can't change outside, It's going to get light when it's supposed to, and it's going to get dark when it's supposed to, based on where we are in our rotation around the sun. We cannot change that, but we can change how we respond to that. So I want to give you some tools on how you can maybe do that. I want to give you some understanding and some compassion if you have people in your life that are affected by that. Fortunately, in my life, most people are happy. I tend to not engage with people that are not happy, so sorry, but I don't want to be around a lot of negative Nancy's. That's just my personality. I always think on the positive side. So I want to give you some positive things that you can do. So if you or a loved one suffers from seasonal affective disorder, then you've got some tools at hand. Now, just so you know, if you've been keeping up with us on social media, you know that we start the 5-day thyroid challenge Monday. Okay, it is from 11 to 12, and then on Friday, which is our regular lunch and learn, I'm going to be going over, because that's the last day of that challenge. So we will not be having a lunch and learn next Friday. However, if you want to get in on the thyroid challenge, there's still time. We're taking registrations. It's a free challenge. So if you've got thyroid disorders, if you know somebody that has thyroid disorder, if you might think, I don't think my thyroid's working right, we're going to give you a lot of information. And so feel free to pop on, social media, grab that registration link, and I'll see you Monday on the challenge. It's the weekend. Take care of yourself. Do a lot of self-care. Rest, recover, rejuvenate. And I will see you not next Friday, but the next Friday on our regular Lunch and Learn. Take care.